Hey all, welcome back to Loopsy Lola, part 2 of the hook sizes and yarn talk video. In this segment of the video, I'm going to go over the different yarn weights and the hook sizes that are recommended for yarns. So if you see stuff you like from either the last video or this video, the links are going to be down below in the description to those products. And also don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you're not ever going to miss out on one of my videos. And pretty soon we're going to be crocheting together. All right, here we go. So to start talking about yarn, there are different weights of yarn. Obviously, if you've ever looked at yarns, you've kind of maybe seen that some are bigger than others. So I will start with one that I have, a very small one. This is a number 1, and that is called super fine. And you can tell it's a very tiny yarn. On the labels, it tells you what it is and what hook size is recommended for crochet or knitting. So as you can see here, it's recommending a B1, a 2.25 millimeter. And you can see what the labels kind of look like. So that's funny because I just picked up that B and this is a 2 millimeter. So I'm going to look and see if I have a 2.5, which I do, but in this style hook, it's called a C. So this is a 2.5. But different patterns also call for different things. So that's like if you're just creating something, that's the standard size you're going to use. But like other patterns might call for a bigger or smaller hook. Depending on the look you want to make, you can make them, more open stitches. So there's a pattern for this it's showing. I don't know if you can see that. It's like a little, let me take it off this. It's a scarf, right? And on the inside of these, there's sometimes patterns. So that's the pattern that it's showing for. And for that, you can see here, it's telling you the hook size I used for that is an F. So you would be using E, F, G. If I can find my F. Where's my F? Well, anyways, I'm not going to sit here and look for it all day. But that's like a 3.5. 3.75 is what it's calling for, but this is a 3.5. So obviously you can see there's quite a bit of difference between the sizes on this. So it's important to follow the patterns of what you're using and not always go by what this necessarily recommends itself. But hopefully that made sense. This is, like I said, called super fine. It's also in the category of baby, fingering, and sock. So I know, people might make socks with these. People typically knit socks, so I don't really make them because I don't knit. But if you ever hear somebody say fingering weight yarn, they're typically going to be talking about a size 1. The next size is a size 2. Bet you didn't guess that. And it is called fine. The category is baby as well and sport. And as you can see, it's about this. It's a little thicker. The recommended hook size for this is an F, which we already established I cannot find or I do not have. The next is a 3, which is light. The category is DK or worsted, which I was a little shocked that they consider this a worsted weight because in my head, worsted is a 4. But this is a 3 or DK weight, if you hear that. I have a lot of this because I have a lot of cupcake yarn. Love it. So I've gotten real used to working with a 3 weight. And there's some pretty fun patterns out there that you can use with 3s. The recommended hook size for this is an H. Like I said, that's one of the more popular ones. Next is a 4, and that's a medium. Also Afghan, Aran, and worsted. And this is what I think of when I hear worsted is a 4. I think that's probably more typical than a 3. I was shocked when it said that, but this is your worsted weight. This is the most common size in the United States. And I teach you to crochet and everything. I'm going to be using worsted, and I think that's a good one for you to start on as well, because it's got a good, I mean, it's bigger, so you can kind of see, you can see your stitches more. It's easier to work with. This is Red Heart Super Saver, and its recommended hook size is an I. So there's one of those other ones I told you was popular, and that's why. Next is a 5, and that's a bulky. The category is chunky, craft, or rug. I've never heard craft or rug, but I have heard chunky. This is homespun yarn from Lion Brand. I think it's the only one that I could find in my stash that's a 5 to show you. So it's kind of a funky yarn in itself, but because of that, it makes it a bigger weight of yarn. So this is 5. I don't have much to say about this. I think I've used this in one project, and I'm not really a big fan of the homespun. So there's that. Next category is a 6. That is super bulky. It could be called bulky or roving yarn. I don't think of 6 as a roving yarn, but the internet does. This is blanket yarn. It's a velvety feeling yarn, and it's those really soft, a lot of baby blankets are made out of this, I think, too. But you can see how thick that is. The recommended hook size is a L. And that's a bigger hook. That's one of my inline ones. But that takes one of these because it's so big. And your patterns might call for even bigger. So you just kind of got to follow the pattern too. The last size is a size 7, and it's called Jumbo. And I do not have any of that to show you because I don't have any. I do know that that's typically what roving yarn is considered in the jumbo category. So like, I don't know if you guys have seen like the large arm knit blankets or this or that. But those use roving yarn or jumbo yarn. So now that I went over that, I mean, are you overwhelmed yet? I hope you're not, because it's a lot to take in, but this is things that I was never told when I started. And so a lot of times I was following, what these labels would say, but then following a pattern, and it was like too tight, or it wasn't turning out right, or it was smaller, or this or that, because I wasn't using the hook size recommended for the pattern. So this is a nice guide, but if you're buying yarn specifically for a pattern, make sure you're buying the yarn for the pattern and you have the hook size and you're using that hook size that the pattern calls for. I've got a few other little notions. This is a nice little set that I got off of Amazon. These are like little safety pin plastic stitch markers that I use all the time. It's nice for counting. So after I do so many stitches, I can put one on like the 20th stitch. And then if I'm doing like 200 stitches, I don't have to go back if I lose count. I just 20, 40, 80 kind of thing. 20, 40, 60, 80. Geez, Laura. But those are a couple things that you could pick up. But you don't have to have them. I know some people just use scraps of yarns to put in their stitches, and that's how they keep track, their stitch markers. The other thing that you might want to look into getting if your hook set does not come with them is yarn needles. They're just these ones are plastic. These came with one of my hook sets. And that's for weaving in your ends at the end of your project or rows or whatever. If you're doing a lot of color switches, you're just going to have to go back in and sew your ends in. There's also metal ones. You can see those. But my favorite is one that my friend gave me. I believe she probably ordered them off of Amazon. I'll have to check and let you know. But this has a little lip up there, and it's really nice for getting in between those stitches. So this has quickly become my favorite weaving in end needle, a yarn needle. But it just makes it a little easier. And obviously I don't like weaving in ends. Most crocheters don't like it, but it has to be done. And that makes the process a little simpler. So I also picked up these folding scissors too. These are really cool. I got them in one of my hook sets and then I bought more, but look at this. So that's really nice to have on the go. And they just fold right back into each other. And then you always have your scissors with you because you're going to need scissors to cut your yarn and ends and all this other stuff. So now that I've probably overwhelmed you, I'm going to end this video. But if you have any questions, just let me know. I recommend for the videos that I'm going to teach, like a size 4 weight yarn, also worsted or Aran. So you're going to be looking for that on the label. It has the 4 on it, says medium. And then for your hook size, I recommend, like I said, getting an, my dog just came in the room. I recommend getting an H, I, and J, but if you only want to get the 1, you can get an I. Typically, you want to have 1 above what you're going to use because when you start your foundation chain, you want to have it a little bigger. But also not an issue if you can only afford 1 or you only want to get 1 just to see if you like it. So yeah, it's you don't have to overcomplicate it. I was just kind of going over everything now that I wish I kind of knew back when I started, like what I was getting myself into and what people were talking about. But like I said, get a worsted size 4 weight yarn. Red Heart, most Red Hearts I think are worsted weight. Look for that size 4 and then just pick up an I or H crochet hook if that's all you want to do. And I'll start working on videos on how to crochet and we'll start with the basics. So make sure you're subscribed to my YouTube channel. Down below, hit that bell to subscribe so you're getting all my videos as they come out, getting notifications on so you're not missing them and you can start crocheting with me and just doing all the fun things. I'll see you next time on my page. Loopsy Lola. Thanks.